Hello, everybody. I am Reverend Abigail Schairer, and I'm here with my co-host, Stephanie Ann Johnson, and our featured guests, Kenny Pulsifer and Richard Wooley, who are going to be joining us in our candid conversation today. So I'm going to go ahead and start us off with some prayer. So wherever you're at, just taking a deep breath. Hmm. And recognize and know that there truly is only one infinite source, one great creator, one love. And that one love and that great creator is creating itself in and through all of creation right now as this thing called life. And so I recognize and know that this time of coming together in this candid conversation is filled with divine inspiration and illumination and ahas and revelation for each and every one of us as we embark in a candid conversation about not only our differences, but also our similarities and really what brings us together as spiritual humans on this planet at this time. And so I'm grateful to know that every word is divinely guided and blessed, that truly this is a holy experience together. And for that, I'm grateful. And so it is.
Yes.
All right. Well, as I said, I am Reverend Abigail Schairer. I'm from Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, and it is my delight to co-host this amazing conversation. And I love to start off with my identities so people have a context or an understanding of who I am, even though I'm much greater than these various identities. I will have to say that. So I consider my ethnicity as German, Irish, and Prussian. I don't have to consider it, but I have not taken an official DNA test, so that's what my family has told me. Um, my race is white, and my gender, I identify as a woman, and I was born as a woman as well. So my sex is a female. And I'm currently 45 years old. My sexual orientation is lesbian. I have a master's degree. I would consider myself financially secure and in the middle class. I'm able-bodied, that's my physical ability, and my body size is average. And my marriage status is that I am married to an amazing, fantastic woman. And my wife is Mexican American, so I am in an interracial lesbian relationship. And then also my spiritual identity. So I would call myself interfaith or trans-denominational or interdenominational. However, I did grow up Christian and I am a super fan of Jesus. So while I teach from various texts, I also really have studied his teachings as a master teacher as well. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm going to toss this over to my co-host, Stephanie Ann Johnson, for them to tell you about themselves.
Awesome. That was really beautiful, Abigail. Thank you so much. My name is Stephanie Ann Johnson. My ethnicity, I am a Black American. I have yet to do the, 23andMe about it so I can figure out which specific country or region in Africa that my people come from. But right now, we're coming out of Wintersville County in Georgia. That's right. Um, Sexual orientation. I am a pansexual, a bisexual, however you like to think about it. I think that many different kinds of people are attractive for many different reasons. Education, I have a bachelor's degree. Ooh, it was hard won, but it's mine. Class, let's see. I would say lower middle class, but I'm working on a come up, as a lot of us are. Amen. My body size, I am averaged body size. But I do have all of the stress about what my body looks like, being that I was assigned female at birth. I consider myself a they them type of person. When I stand in my holiness, like there isn't a gender in that place. And so I really enjoy being a non binary individual. I am able-bodied. I have no significant mobility impairment currently. My marriage status, I am single and I do like diamonds, so holler at me. And my spiritual identity, I really feel like the same year that I became aware of myself as a differently gendered person was the same year that the spirit became more clear to me that I needed to start searching for whatever it was for me to find in a spiritual realm. So I'm still on that search, blessedly. I really I enjoy getting into a lot of different faith traditions and reading about and hearing about how a lot of different people go about experiencing the divine. All right, so that's about me. Kenny, will you tell us a little bit about you?
Yes, thank you. My name is Kenny Pulsifer. I am a Native American Indian, and I'm also partially white. There's a little joke Richie and I have because I'm almost 50-50, and so it depends on my circumstance as to which race I identify as. But I am a registered Native American Indian with the Skokomish Indian tribe off Highway 101 down off the Hood Canal. I identify as male, and I was born as a male. I'm 53 years young. I identify as gay. I have been in a heterosexual relationship, and my preference is as a gay man. I've had some college, and I do consider myself middle class. I am able-bodied, and I'm also overweight, all things I'm working on. I am married to Richard. We've been together 13 years, married probably about half of that. I always forget how to count, but we are married. I was born and raised Christian. And in general, that's kind of how I answer the question. Depending on who's asking and if they're interested in that part of my life, then I definitely open up to be more specific about what that is. And that's how I see myself.
Cool. I guess then it's my turn. My name is Ritchard Wooley, and I am a Black American cisgendered male. I really enjoy being male, but I also am not ashamed of or embarrassed of my feminine type qualities, which there are some. And being a Valentine's Day baby, I'm all about the love. So that's me. I am 51 years old. I am a person of middle class. I am a self-employed person. I am, let's see, a lover of many, many, many things. I am an extroverted introvert. I really, really enjoy my alone time as much as I love being around other people. Spiritually, I was raised Christian, Baptist, but I am God is all there is. That's me. I guess just spiritual is how I would answer that question. And I think that's it. Oh, I'm gay. Did I say I'm yeah, I'm gay. I'm gay. Definitely gay. And a lot ADHD. So here we go.
Oh, I love that. Well, I think Stephanie Ann, you had a great question. I think we should start off with your question.
Great. So today's topic was about marriage, relationship, codependence, and independence. And I want to know, as somebody who, I'm a poly person, I am mostly a single human. So like, how do you, the both of you, Kenny and Richard, how do you find spirituality separately, like individually? And then how do you find it together in your relationship? And let's start with you this time, Richard. Talk to us.
Okay. So individually, I find God in everything. I do prefer the term God, although I was scared away from that for a while. Traditional religion did a number on me, but I do prefer the term God to describe my higher power. And I walk, talk, live, love, and laugh with my higher power every single day. I find God in the animals that I work with, in the flowers. I find God in the juxtaposition of nature against city. Um, in our as we live in a downtown area of Seattle, I love experiencing God that way. And I think with Kenny, um, gosh, I experience God with Kenny when we align on a similar principle, when we are both um, we manifest like crazy, both individually and together. And when we are on the same page, and he'll talk about this a little bit more, but watch out because literally miracles will happen before your eyes. And that's just our jam. So, Ken?
Hello, sorry for our dogs. Um, I my relationship, I also refer to my higher power as God, but I have learned and can appreciate that that's just a title I put on the higher power. I come from a very conservative Christian walk. I was involved with the Assembly of God organization for most of my life. I went to their university in Kirkland and came out in that process, got married to my daughter's mother in that process, came out in that process. And so obviously that kind of led to my inability to finish school there. That just wasn't going to work. But over the years, I have really grown and evolved to understand how big God really is and how limiting that organization actually made God to be. And so finding this particular faith through Centers of Spiritual Living, we found it through a friend for a few years, left, and then came to the Seattle Centers for Spiritual Living. And it's just a great place to be for me. Um, I had so much untangling to do from some other teachings that understanding the power of love and how love can just untangle all of the messes. And just seriously, every week there's just something new to learn in the various classes. But for me, I have found that God is in everything. You know, my husband has been great to show me how God shows up in animals. I'm not as big of an animal lover as he, but man, I can't look at Archie and not see God at the same time. Archie's just so full of love, even when he went to bark at the neighbors across the hall. But but again, like God is in the plants, God is in the air I breathe, God is in the man I love, God is me, and that is kind of the very fast review. Like God is just so much. God is in music. God's in singing. God's in rap. I mean, God's in all the things, and it's just taking a beat to stop and breathe and see. And then in our relationship, kind of as I evolved out of the more restrictive Christian walk, I have found the power in the power of us. And when Richie and I align with each other, and often it's unspoken, we will often start walking down a path and have very similar thoughts and very strong feelings about a thing before we even share it with each other. And you know, the first few times I'm a crier, I would cry and be very emotional about it. Now it's kind of just an expectation. Once I get to a place where I feel so strongly about something, and then I decide it's time to open up the conversation, or he decides it's time to open the conversation, we both are like, oh, here we go. It's pretty awesome. So I love spirituality and us. a lot. And it's way different than I ever thought it would be as a little kid growing up, looking at maybe my family for direction on relationships and God and faith. It's way different, and it's way better than I could have ever imagined.
I love that. And I think the diversity of relationships that show up are talked about a lot more. I think my experience, I can't really say what other people's experience is, but in the queer community.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I'm in a marriage with a woman, and by the way, we got married twice. So we got married in 2007. We were in California in 2008. It became legal in California only, and so we got legally married in 2008. And we got some rights that there were hundreds of rights that are accorded to people who are legally married.
Mm.
And that's before the federal laws came into being. But we decided to be in a monogamous relationship. That's being, you know, that's not it doesn't it there's not an expectation that the relationship has to work a certain way, at least is what I've experienced. And in a gay relationship, there's not the gender roles that other relationships might have put on them. And so therefore we have communication about like who does what and who's great at what. And, I'm really crappy at washing the dishes, but I'll do the toilets and, like, so there's a lot of agreements that come about. And that's made my relationships stronger. And my wife doesn't necessarily go to the spiritual center, but she watches online. And it was really important to me to have somebody who was spiritually grounded, but she didn't have to be my faith. And as a matter of fact, she didn't even know about Centers for Spiritual Living or any of that until she met me. But she's a very deeply spiritual person. And that has helped me in my relationship too. I'm curious, first for Stephanie Ann to talk about their relationship being a pan person and how that looks with spirituality as well. So will you answer that, Stephanie Ann?
Yes, I will. I love it. So being a pansexual person, I allow myself to be attracted to a multitude of different kinds of people and different people in different bodies. I came to believe at some point, and probably hanging out at Center for Spiritual Living, that God is this thing that can work through all of us in different ways. So when I'm looking for somebody that I'm attracted to, partially like I'm looking for that spark of spirit. If I see it in how they live their life, how they treat people in the service industry, how they treat their friends, how they treat their household, how they treat their other partners, how they treat themselves in their mourning and grief, all of that is important information for me. So that's kind of how I look to find others. I also understand that not everybody finds God or a higher power in the same places that I do. So I allow for and expect that other people have different experiences with however they conceptualize higher power. And for some people, higher power really is relationship. It's relationship with self and relationship with others, whether, professionally or privately. So yeah, for me, it's a blossoming experience. It's an experience that continues to unfold as I continue to grow. I think also being a pansexual person and being, some people call this solo poly. The relationship I have with myself is a big deal, and it's really important to me. So I make sure that I am checking in with that. And I do that a lot through different daily spiritual practices. One of those being singing with myself, working on my craft, working on my gift from God and or the ancestors. So yeah, it's beautiful to be sitting where I'm sitting.
I love that. And definitely I'd love to hear from you, Kenny. We lost Richard, so I'm knowing that he's in a place where he can log back in. But I would love to hear Kenny about your experience, especially in relationship and how that has worked with your marriage.
Yeah, it is very much like you were kind of speaking to before. There's not a lot of quote unquote rules in our relationship, and having been married to my daughter's mother for several years and being married to Richie, there's definitely some differences. And there's not like the standard typical spouse scenario where somebody makes money and somebody does housework and somebody raises kids. Like that's all different for us. We got together probably a little later in life. We met and got together when I was 40. And we started down our journey, right? In our 13-year relationship, we've evolved, we've grown, we've learned more about each other. And I say that to get to we're in an open relationship now. And that's shifted in the last couple of years. But that's 100% just because we as individuals have shifted. But it didn't it isn't a reflection of lack of love or more love or anything. It's just part of our lives made a shift. And it's been kind of fantastic for me because the relationship overall just didn't change. We're still Kenny and Richie. We're still, you know, doing our thing at my job and him grinding at his self-employment. Like there's a lot of stuff. And this one part of our life is just a little different. It's just one part of who we are, right? And we are fortunate that as time has moved along, we do things like it's your turn to worry about the bills. It's your turn to worry about housework. It's your turn to worry about, like, we just kind of help each other out with all of that. And it's shifts because some weeks the poor guy is grooming dogs till 7 o'clock and he's not getting home till late. And so it's a daily check-in with who has time to take care of this particular responsibility. And then if things get just off the rails completely, we can call each other out and be like, hey, we need to take a day and bring the house back to zero. But it's great because there was a part of my life that I would have felt a lot of judgment towards myself, towards anybody else. I used to worry incessantly about what somebody might think about how this relationship looks and works. I worried way, way, way too much. And Richard's independence forward way of living has really helped me wrap my head around without, I don't want to sound crass, but I just kind of don't care anymore. I love my family. I love my inner circle of friends. And quite frankly, how Richie and I choose to handle our relationship and manage our relationship is kind of nobody's business, even my intimate close friends. And admittedly, there's been a couple of relationships that friendships that have kind of waned off, and that's okay. It might hurt in the moment, but I'm always like, a real friend shows. And fortunately, I do have those still. But yeah, it's kind of cool that in my opinion, it's nice to not have to follow all the norms, because I tried to do that, like I said, with my daughter's mother, and it clearly wasn't who I was cut out to be. for a number of reasons beyond being a gay man. There's so many other reasons why that was just never going to work.
I love that, and I'm going to want to hear from Richard. But I'm curious too. Richard, you kind of brought up this idea of codependent and independent, and I'm wondering if that has to do with the decision in your relationship to have an open marriage, or if that had nothing to do with it. Like I'm curious about your subject and why you brought it up and what's behind that.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say my phone got really hot, and so it shut down, and so I have to hold it up to the air conditioner. So if you can hear me and I sound good, okay, cool. So no, actually, I think that my independence started before Kenny and I got together without me knowing it. I did this thing. Long story short, I dated myself for a year, um, so that I could discover who I was looking for. So I would recognize who I was looking for when he walked into my life. And in so doing, I learned to love myself, and I learned that I am enough. And Kenny will tell you, I was like annoyed that someone was worth my attention, and it was bothering me. Um, but uh, but I didn't know how to define relationship, and I only knew how to define relationship and marriage one way, the sort of traditional way. And so it wasn't until we got into our relationship that we like within the last several years, like he said, few years, we began to really allow ourselves the freedom to explore and go, okay, what does being in a relationship mean? Must we do this? Must we do that? You know, what does it mean if we don't do this together? What does it mean if we don't do that together? And I think one of the first things was I'm more of a homebody. I believe in creating a life, in living a life from which I need no vacation. And Kenny likes to travel more than I do. And so at one point, I remember I feel like it was about a year, but it was probably just a few months. But Kenny was really anxious, and he kept saying like, oh, I just feel like I need to get on a plane and go somewhere, and I just need to go on vacation. And finally, out of frustration, I looked at him and I said, just go. And then I developed this phrase that said, hey, if you go on vacation, we get a vacation. And it became this thing. And Kenny went on a vacation, a magnificent vacation all by himself for the first time. And we both got calls from everybody. Are you guys okay? I saw Kenny in Las Vegas, and he's not with you. And are you guys okay? Come on, you could really tell us, and all this thing. And I was like, what the heck, you know? But that, I think, is the first kind of the first big way that we sort of announced to each other and started experimenting to each other with this whole idea of independence. But I'm definitely more independent than Kenny. But you know, um, when he's gone for about 3 days, I give him a call and I go, okay, I need you back. That always feels really good to him. But yeah, it's still sort of evolving, but we're working it out. And now that we feel like we have the freedom to do so, we're like, okay, well, what if I want to do this? Well, I don't want to do that, but you go ahead and do that, you know? And so I think that's more what it means. But
Yeah.
it's nice too that we know that we both need each other and love each other and want each other at the end of the day, and we come back.
Yeah, that was admittedly, there was probably, I would say, 2 or 3 years of confusion for me, just trying to understand, coming from, I'm at my core, I'm almost grossly codependent, and it's really been an adventure to untangle that. And you know, Richie's learned through the years, my family's maybe not all that unique, but like worry to my parents equals love. And worry is extreme. Like, we have a red car. If they see a red car in the accident in the news, they're calling our phone every minute. Are you alive? Are you alive? And that's where I come from. And so even the first time I went out clubbing with a friend of mine, I was panicked all night long because it's just not what I came from. And so to be now at a place where I can go out, I'll just text him like, hey, Kevin and I are going to go out. And, that's part of the end of the conversation. I get home when I get home and nobody's upset about anything. And it's, then we do our thing. I still have my moments, but I know when I can relax, I just know that he loves me and I love him. And it doesn't matter. We get our time with each other. And if we go through weeks where we don't have enough time with each other, we just say it. I just need more time with you. And it's all good.
I love this conversation, and I just need to interject this word really quickly from the poly community. I hope that you're familiar with it, but even if you're not, it's one of my favorite words. And the word is compersion. And what that means is being happy that your partner is happy, being happy, deriving pleasure from the fact that your partner gets to have what they need to feel whole and to feel seen and to feel loved and to feel like themselves. And I love that you all are figuring that out together, even if you may or may not have a language for it.
Thank you. That's a great word.
I love that word. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I think one of the key phrases that we go back to from the beginning of our relationship is I told Ken when we got together that my three most hated words in any relationship are "you complete me." I would rather be a whole person myself and meet a whole person and enhance our lives than try to be the missing links to each other.
Amen.
Yes. There's so much that you've said here that I love so much. That is a key thing that I think is integral in relationships and in the story of humanity and how we move forward, recognizing that each and every person is a whole person, and that we're not lacking anything, that we come to the relationship to take it to the next level because two whole people are involved, and in the Bible it says where two or more are gathered, then miracles happen. Well, and I'm just saying that there's just such amazing power in what you've said, also in the freedom and authenticity. And so I think one of the things that I've loved about, the science of mind teaching or new thought teachings is that not only is freedom our birthright, but it is a synonym for God. And so when we're in that space of freedom, then we're tuned in to the divine. And the authenticity is like the way that the creator made each and every one of us is special and unique and a gift. And when I tap into my authentic beingness, then I am being what God created me to be. And so you're illustrating that just in this conversation today, and it's really cool. I just love you two so much.
Thank you for that. I loved hearing that.
Yeah. And we are kind of we have just like a minute or two. So before we move into the next part of this, I want to make sure if there is something that you wanted to say about relationship or spirituality or being independent and how maybe spiritual community has helped in that I'd be very curious to hear a little bit about that.
Oof. I shared just briefly a while ago, when we're aligned, the world just rocks. We had been learning about intentions. We'd been learning about what is it you want, and when you're asking and praying for specific things, be specific. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What is the temperature like? All of those questions became relevant when we decided to purchase a home. And we went about it a very non-typical pathway, so much so that when we found the home, we're like, oh shoot, we don't have money in the bank to buy a home. And you need that down payment. And we were down $11,000, and we both just were so focused on this being the place that I think it was 60 days. We had 11,000 plus and made it happen. And so spirituality is super important to us, because even with that example, there's so many other ones that are, in my opinion, as powerful. But that was one of the first times we looked at each other and was like, oh, there's something to the us part of this thing when it comes to our spiritual walk and our faith. Like there's more to this. It was almost a little frightening for me that first time, because God's always taken care of me. I mean, that's never been a problem. But to the tune of, this is what I want, and $11,000 just showed up from all sorts of sources. It's amazing.
I love that. Richard, did you want to add to it?
Honestly, he covered it, but honestly, yeah. Like I said before, when we align, it's crazy how fast things happen. And that's just one example, but gosh, our wedding is something that doesn't look like either of our incomes could afford. But it was to be a celebration of love that was like no other. And it started with the invitations, and I'll show you pictures someday. It was crazy.
Got married in a castle, so it was great.
I love that. And what I also love is Stephanie Ann's expression of like, what? That's great.
You all are too much. And I love that. I really do. I am so grateful for this conversation right now. And I'm really grateful for winding up at CSL and winding up on the radar of folk just like you. I really appreciate how much hearing from you about your story and your different walks. I love how that feeds my spirit and my heart. So thank you so much for being here and finding the time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you guys.
And we're coming to this part in our conversation where we get to share about what we're up to in the world. And I'm gonna go Stephanie and Kenny, Richard, and I'll go last, and then we'll have Stephanie and pray us out.
Around September, please look for me on the rolls for people performing at Bumbershoot. We are going to have us a good old time. Oh, yes.
Yeah. That's awesome. I don't have a whole lot going on. It's summertime and the choirs aren't singing, and I'm kind of enjoying a small break from a kind of a busy schedule. And probably the biggest thing going on in my life right now is I am on the prowl for the next business adventure for myself, and that's kind of my focus right now.
Cool. And I am 1.5 years into owning and operating my own dog grooming salon, and I am thriving, and I literally love on pets so much. And each groom starts out with like a small meditation where I ask the pets to join me, so that I'm not doing something to them, but with them. And so if you want your pets loved and cleaned and groomed, look me up. Thank you.
And what's the name of your company, Richard?
It is richardsgrooming.com, and there's a T in my name. So it's RITCHARDS grooming.com. Check it out.
All right, I love that. And there's also some backstory, which unfortunately we didn't have time today to go into, but that was so a answered prayer, standing in his truth and power, and a courageous act that Richard did, and leaving the professional world to go into the dog grooming as a profession. So that's really, really cool. So I'm loving that you are
And
being so successful.
And CSL played a big role in the manifestation of all this. So thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, Richard. And for those of you who don't know, CSL means Centers for Spiritual Living or Center for Spiritual Living. I think that's all. Oh, I am teaching another class, but unfortunately it has a prerequisite. So I would encourage you, if you're interested in our teaching, to take Beyond Limits, which is an online class in the fall in September. And then after that, someday I'll be teaching this class called Unlocking Your Mind, the Essential Earnest. I'm actually teaching that in July, but only for those folks who've already taken the prerequisite of Beyond Limits. So lots of cool things happening in our world, and I'm super grateful for the candid conversation with all of you and your openness and your willingness to be you, and humans that I love in this world, all of you. I'm really grateful to have the opportunity. So thank you. And I will pass this on to my co-host, Stephanie Ann, so they can pray us out.
All right. Wherever you are, wherever you find yourself, take a moment to take a breath and come home to yourself. Come home to the knowing that the Spirit works in you and through you. Come home to the feeling that friendship and relationship is something that grows and changes with us as we change and grow. I just want to say thank you so much to the Spirit for everything that I've been given in and out of this conversation. And I really hope that both the people I'm in conversation with and those that are listening, wherever they are in this world, that they can take something of beauty from this conversation forward through the rest of their days. All of these things that I pray, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you.
So it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Take care.